Okay, Kintaro, wake up. It's unboxing time. You have work to do. Come on, buddy. Come on, Kintaro. Hey, hey. Let's do that unboxing. We have promised our viewers that we are going to do unboxing. Kintaro. Kintaro. Uh, I think he doesn't want to comply, so I might have to do this unboxing myself. What a disappointment. So what we see here is packaging. So as you see, this person who sent me these tubes, I got them from eBay. You see, I just like can't hold back. Just a few days ago, I received those iMac tubes, the 100TH, and now I'm getting something more. What's going on here? So you see that there was like peanuts and stuff, and in the center bubble wrap and tubes. So this is a nice way to package vacuum tubes, and they will survive the transport. And oh my god, what are these? As you see, they are blue tubes, and they are, I would call them true blue, because nowadays in modern production tubes you can also see that some companies started manufacturing blue versions of their power tubes. However, are they equivalent to these ancient blue glass tubes? No, they are not. Because the modern blue glass tubes are regular glass. I mean, regular in a way that is the same glass that's used for the clear vacuum tubes. They just add color to make them blue. However, these are Arcturus blue tubes. They were made by Arcturus, this company, and they are blue because this is not the regular transparent glass. In the early history of vacuum tube manufacturing, they used this blue glass because it is a much higher grade of glass than the transparent glass. However, later on they discontinued using it because it was too expensive. So basically, when you see the clear glass tubes, those are the downgraded versions of this one. And this blue glass, that's why those tubes now are getting more scarce. First of all, because they didn't make too many of them, or there's not that many left, but they were much more expensive to manufacture than the clear glass. So when you see these ancient ones popping up, they can be quite expensive. So the reason I bought these because they were super cheap, and the seller who sold them sold 3 of them for price which is cheaper than just buying one of them. So sometimes on eBay you can get deals like that, and often when the situation is like that 3 tubes for the price of one, it means that they are junk, which means that they barely test, so they are almost dead. However, these are extremely strong, and the seller said all of them test 115% of new value, so they are stronger than specified new value. So these are super strong specimen. That's why I bought them. So anyway, I didn't even want to buy them. I just happened to, I just ran across them with random browsing, and now here they are. And I just love these blue glass tubes. That's why I got them. However, as you see, they are really unusual tubes. You see, there's a bump on the top, and this bump is the plate, is the connection for the plate. So the high voltage is connecting there, and that's because if you put it here instead of here, then the capacitance between plate and the cathode plate and the grid is much lower because it's physically distanced apart. And I did this because this is a radio detector tube, and there, to have super low plate capacitance, is mandatory. That makes a very big difference on getting a good reception for your radio. And this tube, it's the 51. It's called the type 51 vacuum tube. Actually, it's 551, so it's the 51 series. They used to give them lots of different names, and the 551 is the same as 51, and this tube was released in 1931. So I'm holding in my hands a 91-year-old vacuum tube, and now I'm holding three 91-year-old vacuum tubes in my hands. So, what on earth are these tubes? And why were they so cheap? So, they were so cheap because these are tetrodes. And this is a variation of the very first commercial tetrode, which was the 24A. So, this tube is a direct substitute for a 24A. And as you see, it has a nice mesh plate, round mesh plate, plate cap, blue glass, true blue glass, which holds vacuum much better than the regular transparent glass that was initially made. Since then, they improved on the glass technology, so today's transparent glass is better than the early transparent glass was. However, these early blue glasses are still very high quality, and I'm not sure if they are better than the modern production glasses or not. But there was a lot of things about vacuum tube construction in this age that was kept under tighter tolerances and better condition than today. And that's why the older tubes, when they were made in this era, they sound more balanced than the ones which are modern production. So why is that? That's because at the time when this vacuum tube was made, the majority of vacuum tubes were made for military application. So the tubes of that era, 1930s, 40s, especially the 40s, they were the top military technology of the era. So basically all the nations who were making vacuum tubes, they dumped all their money and all their effort to produce the best parts to make vacuum tubes. And as you know, maybe you don't, making a single vacuum tube requires 70 different metals, and they need to be of an extremely high purity, cast and made in a certain way. And at that time when they were making these tubes, at that time those who manufactured the metals, which are the ingredients of the vacuum tubes, were manufacturing them to exacting specifications of the vacuum tube plants. And today, I think most of the vacuum tube manufacturers are using commercially available metal sources, which are making their metals, they products for commercial purposes, commercial specifications, and not the exacting military specifications. And the reason for that is that Uncle Sam's military machinery could afford billions of dollars to manufacture those rare sheets of metals that are needed for the vacuum tubes. But today, those consumers who want vacuum tubes in their amplifiers, they cannot drive an industry, the back of the industry, which requires such extreme measures to produce the highest quality parts. So that's one reason why these old vacuum tubes of that old era just have a certain sonic quality to them that today's vacuum tubes don't. And the other reason is that people who were building these vacuum tubes for those radios of the time, they did the voicing of the equipment and the voicing of the vacuum tubes and the design of the vacuum tubes by checking with their ears. And they grew up hearing natural instrument. There was no TV, no cell phone, no MP3s at that time. So their ears were calibrated to human voice, natural sound. And when today people design new vacuum tubes, they make the current productions, their references are audiophile systems which have a completely manufactured artificial sound based on an artificial translation that the microphone gives to the live sound. So coming back to these tubes, these are the 551 tubes. These were the very first tetrodes from 90 plus years ago. And today almost no one is, I think no one is using them. Online I haven't found a single person who built a radio or amplifier with these tubes. But if you heard me mentioning Loftin White amplifiers, they were built, the original Loftin White amplifier was built with this tube as the driver tube. And they were using the screen grid to drive the tube. So they were driving the screen grid and then had the plate direct coupled to the Type 45 tube to drive it. So that this tube was part of the original Loftin White. And so why did I get it? Will I build the original Loftin White? No, because part of it was a compromise, because at that time the output transformers were not good enough to provide full bandwidth. The power supply capacitors were not high enough in capacitance to provide well enough filtering, so they needed to come up with special tricks and tweaks to create acceptable bandwidth. And if I were to build the original Loftin White amplifier, the bandwidth of it would be from 35 Hz to 6.3 kilohertz. And it's truly something special, and just for the fun of it, I might just build it to have a proper time machine at my disposal. But I was thinking to use these tubes in triode mode, test out how it works. It will be something groundbreaking because I haven't heard anyone using them in triode mode. Now probably if I start doing that, and if it sounds good, very good, promising, then right now these tubes I got them for $15, the 3 of them plus shipping. And now if I start using them as triodes and it turns out that they are really nice as triodes, people start following my example, then in 20 years these will probably cost you $100 plus. And why am I making such prediction? Because that's exactly what happened to all of the power tubes and signal tubes that we have today, which are costing so much, like the 45, 26 and so on, or the Type 50. They are so expensive because people are using them, and that's what drives their price, and not just the potential of the tube. Of course those tubes have tremendous potential, but there's tons others which are mostly unexplored, which have tremendous potential, such as this tube. And that's for the future to implement. And also it depends highly on my time and availability to be able to make this little amplifier. I would be really overjoyed to build it this year, but I have no idea if my work allows me to make it happen this year. So anyway, if it happens, this will be probably the input tube for the 71A amplifier, just to keep it as a time machine. So to have the power tube from 1930s and the input tube from the same era. So everyone, have a wonderful day, and I hope everyone learned a little bit more about vacuum tube history and the glasses used in vacuum tubes and what drives tube prices. Please like, subscribe, have an amazing day. Bye bye.